हाय दोस्तों, नमस्कार. Welcome to our YouTube channel Bajirao IAS Academy. Today is 2nd of October and we are going to discuss the daily Hindu newspaper analysis. So, today we will discuss some of the important articles, but before that we will look some of the important questions which is very much important even asked in UPSC prelims. So today's question you have to attempt from the economy section, and the question is, consider the following statements. The effect of devaluation of a currency is that it necessarily, option 1, improves the competitiveness of the domestic export in the foreign market. Statement 2, increase the foreign value of domestic currency. Option 3, improves the trade balance. And आपको attempt करना है which of the above statements is correct. You have to choose the correct statement. So here you have to understand that what the question is asking, and remember the statement what is given here, it is talking about a necessarily, meaning it has the necessarily impact, and you have to choose that. So first of all we will understand about devaluation, okay, and then you have to attempt, and the answer of this question will be given to you in the last session of the discussion, okay. So when we talk about a devaluation, meaning that the value of currency is getting decreased or the devalued, meaning the value is getting decreased. For example, let's say when we talk about the exchange rate of $1 in terms of rupee is equal to 70 rupees, okay, and whenever there is a devaluation of Indian rupee, meaning the value of Indian rupee will decrease, and reverse, the value of dollar with respect to Indian rupee will increase. So if there is existing a condition like $1 is equal to 70 rupees, and if there is a devaluation of Indian currency, and because of devaluation $1 now becomes 80 rupees, meaning the rupee got devalued. That is the meaning of devaluation, okay. And whenever there will be a devaluation, remember, the export from the Indian territory will become more cheap and there will be more export. So that is the point you have to understand, okay. There is a relation. So here you have to attempt the question with correct information. You have to choose the correct information and then select the option, because UPSC in economy section asks this type of conceptual questions. You can see here there is no data, there is no economic survey budget related data given here. You have to simply answer with respect to the concept you understand, okay. So we will discuss the answer in the last of the session, but now we are going to continue with our articles discussion. But before that you have to also attempt the UPSC mains question, and this question is basically belong to 2023 UPSC GS paper 3, and this is a good question. Why? Because in previous year also UPSC did had asked these type of questions, okay. And agriculture, one of the important topic for the UPSC. You can see the thorough PYQs from the mains perspective, and you can also analyze, yes, that agriculture is also a very important topic. Even I think I have analyzed that approx 4 to 5 questions related to agriculture definitely came in this exam, okay. And you can also watch our UPSC mains analysis question paper that we have uploaded in our YouTube channel, and also you can get a very good idea about what UPSC is demanding and also which type of questions they are asking, okay. So today's question is about what are the direct and indirect subsidies provided to farm sector in India. Discuss the issues raised by the World Trade Organization in relation to agricultural subsidy. When we talk about international trade, you should understand that international trade should be based on pillar of promoting the trade between different countries. That means removing the trade barrier, tax barrier, direct or indirect barrier. So the World Trade Organization always try to balance the world trade by minimizing or deleting the trade barrier. Okay, so WTO things like the indirect subsidy or the subsidy is like a trade barrier, so government of various nations should eliminate this type of subsidy. Okay, but different countries including India have different response to this principle, because we give subsidy not for the reducing like the trade, but to protect our farmers interest. That's why we try to give subsidies, so that our farmers will ensure that their production will get sufficient money. That's why we try to give them the subsidy, whether it is direct subsidy, whether it is indirect subsidy. So this is the principle. But here you have to answer the question. First of all, the basics like direct subsidy and indirect subsidy, what are these? For example, if you consider direct subsidy, meaning these are the subsidy that are given in terms of monetary form. Like we have the scheme like 6,000 rupees per year given our farmers, and you have to name the scheme, what is that. And also we have the scheme like loan waiver. Sometimes government do promises the farmer that once we come to the power we will have the farm loan waiver for you. So these are also coming under direct. Okay, but when we talk about indirect subsidy, it means like you are not directly providing the monetary assistance, but indirectly you are helping to reduce their monetary burden, like reducing the electricity bill or subsidizing the fertilizer, or even the MSP, that is minimum support price given for various crops. Okay, so these are indirect subsidy, and you have to understand that, and you have to mention the definition, examples, and the very most important thing where you have to highlight also is the second part of the question, that are talking about various issues raised by WTO in relation to agricultural subsidy. So here you have to elaborate what is the dispute that goes on in the WTO related to the agricultural subsidy, what the WTO says about subsidy, and which subsidy WTO talks about to ban it and to regulate it. So we have provided you some little bit information, and I am not giving you the answer of this question, but I am highlighting some points so that you can understand all these points and you can answer in your own way. Because even if I give you the PDF or the summary, then you will be not elaborating the questions and the answers into your mind. You are just reading the answers and that's done. So that is not a good thing. Hence you have to understand, you have to think, and you have to generate points from your brain. That will definitely help you. So we have given you the slide about WTO and the disputes that goes on. For example, there is a agreement on agriculture which was done in 1994, and this agreement on agriculture talks about regulating the subsidies in the agriculture sector. That's why there is a classification of subsidy into three categories. Okay, and why this classification? To remove trade barriers, to promote transparent market access and integration of global markets because of that. Okay, and you can see here subsidy has been classified into non-distorting, and when we talk about non-distorting it will come under green box. Okay, and when we talk about the minimally distorting, that comes under blue box, and the subsidy which is seriously distorting the markets, that comes under amber box. So you have to remember, because UPSC has asked in prelims this type of question as well. Okay, so we have talked about some basics understanding, and now we are shifting our article discussion. Okay, so we have the two articles in discussion. First of all, India Maldives relation, and here we will talking about the regime change because of the presidential election that was happened this time recently, and now there is change in the president. Okay, so we will discuss with respect to India's impact. For example, the government which was existing between the period of 2018 to 2023 was India friendly. Okay, and they were trying to promote cooperations relations with India, but the government which has recently presided, actually they are pro China. Okay, and they are more attracted towards Chinese. And also, in fact, the India Out campaign which was going on the Maldives may had the influence of the present president. So we will discuss with all the angles in a great detail. Also, we will try to see some of the important locations of Maldives like 8-degree channel, 9-degree channel, 10-degree channel, all of that. Okay. And now the second article will be related to tuberculosis and the aging population. You know that recently United Nations Population Fund organization has released a report specifically mentioning that India's old age population is aiming to grow in the coming times, and that means we have to be prepared for the elderly population for the welfare. But at the second time, what we are seeing that the incidence of tuberculosis, which is a bacterial infections that occurs in the lungs mainly, so the rate of incidence or the infection of tuberculosis in the elderly or the old age population is high. We will see about data as well. Okay, so what should be the process, what should be the approach, the article discusses about that. Okay, so let's talk with the discussion. The first article will be covered under GS paper 2 and it will be related to this topic. Okay, so when we talk about the Maldives, you first of all look at the map. Okay, this is India. You can see I am highlighting this is India. Okay, and you can see here when you go to the south of Indian subcontinent, you will be having the Maldives, which is encircled with a red marker. Okay, and you can see the Maldives, and Maldives is just north of equator, you should remember. Okay, majority of the parts of Maldives is located to the north of equator, and it is a very important country in South Asia, specifically in the Indian Ocean, because from here there is a important sea lines of communication and shipping lanes goes from here. That's why Maldives becomes very important, also for India, also for the trading purpose, also for the shipping purpose. Okay, that's why our relations with the Maldives becomes very important, and if relations are good, definitely it is a positive impact on India and Maldives as well. And that's why we have conducted many infrastructural projects in Maldives like Great Mal Connectivity Project. You have already seen the very much highlighted news of that time. So we will discuss all this. So what is the present context here? Present context here that in Maldives the presidential elections was going on, and now the result has been arrived. And what is the outcome of the result? Like the president Ibu Soli, which was representing the Maldives in the earlier times, that is between the period of 2018 to 2023, now has been replaced with Muhammad Muzu. Here you can see the name. And what is the important thing to know, that when we talk about the former president Ibu Soli, it has good relations with India. In fact, within this period, we have many infrastructure projects, trade, incentives, economic cooperation, and many more things. But with the coming of the present president, that is Muhammad Muzu, there may be the disturbances between India and Maldives relations, specifically because the Muhammad Muzu has close cooperations or close linkages with China. That is the point, because when the campaign, that is India Out, was running in Maldives, then the president, that is Mohammad Muzu, do have the support of this campaign. Okay, and why this campaign was raised? Because of the concerns over sovereignty issues, as highlighted, like the presence of Indian military personnel in Maldives may do have the sovereignty issue. That was highlighted by the Mr. Muizu's party of that time, and the party name is Progressive Party of Maldives. Okay, so that highlight that maybe the relation get impacted because of the closeness towards China. Okay, so here you can see President Mohammad Muzu is pro-Chinese, where Mr. Sholi, former president, they were promoting India first policy. That is the point you have to understand. And during the tenure of Mr. Sholi, we have many infrastructure projects. We had given pandemic assistance as well as India's support in the campaign to have Maldives Foreign Minister Abdullah Shahid elected President of United Nations General Assembly. So that was India was also supporting, and in fact the India and Maldives relation was achieving a higher height. Okay, so now after the coming of this president, whether the relation will go ahead, go deeper, the time will tell. But here for the prelims purpose you have to understand some of the important channels. Okay, channels is nothing but they are latitude actually. So when we talk about the 8-degree channel, that separates Minicoy Island, which is a part of India, which is a part of Lakshadweep. Okay, that separates Minicoy Island from Maldives, so you have to remember this. And also when we talk about 9-degree channel, it separates Kavaratti from Minicoy Island. Okay, you have to also remember this. When we talk about 10-degree channel, and the UPSC even had asked this question, it separates Andaman from Nicobar. Okay, so you have to remember this. So after discussing coming that next what, so even after the president was elected, then our Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated the president. Okay, so now it relies on the current president, that is Mr. Muju, that what type of cooperation, the relations they want with India, whether they will keep the promise of keeping India Maldives ties close, or whether the relations may get disrupted. Only the time will tell, because currently they had become the president very recently. So in the coming time what will happen, we have to see and watch. Okay, and when we talk about the Maldives significance, it is also very important. First of all, I had told you that it is located on a very important location in the Indian Ocean, along with the key shipping routes. Also, the Maldives requirement for India is also very important. So there should be a need to balance traditional strategic interest with India for the Maldives. Okay, and also there is a need that even whether India or the Maldives view their interest not through the prism of zero-sum games. If I want to ask you a question, what do you mean by zero-sum games? Although this is a mathematical concept, but these are used in geopolitics, politics, international relation. Zero-sum game simply means that even if there is two countries, let's say country A and country B, okay, and if country A wants to make a relation with B, then if A thinks like if we will make relation with B, then B will get benefited and the country A will not get any benefit, meaning one side will be positive and other side will have negative significance. That means making them neutral. This is the zero-sum game, meaning one country will be benefited and the other will be not. Okay, so that is the zero-sum games. If you try to sum the positive negative, it will come to zero. So that is the zero-sum game. So why this statement, the keyword used here, because Maldives if treat India that if Maldives makes relation with India, that means only India will be benefited, Maldives not. That will also signify the zero-sum games polity. Okay, So that is the point here, and we have discussed the article in detail. Now shifting our focus to second article, and it will be covered under GS paper 2, and you can relate with. So recently also, when we talk about the report which was published by United Nations, that highlighted that India's aging population is going to rise. It is going to rise means what? Our demographic population is now achieving its maximum peak, and after that definitely the dependent population, specifically the old age population, is going to rise. But why the old age population is going to rise? Because of many things like healthcare reforms, and people are more getting good healthcare care, okay, and along with the better nutrition and all of that, the life expectancy of the people is also increasing. So that's why it is an indication that in the coming future the elderly will have a significant proportion in India and in Indian society. And we have a data here, like in 2011, 9% of India's population was over the age of 60, and now by 2030 it is expected to increase to 12.5%. It is also a very important, significant, and the share you can see here, okay. So when we talk about the significance of elderly, do you know that our elderly has a very huge significance, whether in terms of ideas, whether in terms of the wisdom, the knowledge they keep with them, the experiences they keep with them. If these experiences, knowledge are shared and transferred from generation to generation, meaning the youth population will be more aware, will be more confident, and will be more conscious with their life. The first and utmost important is that, okay. So when we talk about the elderly represents a storehouse of wisdom, you can even write an article over this statement. This is a very good statement, okay. And recently International Day of Older Persons was celebrated on October 1. So there is a need that we must resolve to invest in the health and needs of our elderly. So why we are focusing on to invest in the health and needs of our elderly? Because we are not providing the sufficient care, the facilities that they need. The elderly population are facing social isolation, even the generational gaps, and many more things, the lack of nutrition, the lack of health care. And because of that, the incident of TB in the elder population is higher as compared to the younger population. Why I am telling you? I will tell you with the substantiating from the data. You can see the data here, and you can see here that India's National TB Prevalence Survey 2021 was done, and in this survey it was revealed that the prevalence of TB in the people over the age 55, okay, was 588 per 1 lakh population, as compared to the national average that was 316, okay. And because of that, there was a rapid assessment report on TB which was conducted among the elderly, and that also highlighted some of the important impact of tuberculosis on the elderly. We will see the impact, but you can also quote some of the important data that tuberculosis, which affects about 25 lakh Indians every year and kills at least 1,000 people every day. This is very important. And remember, India has targeted to end TB by 2025. And what is the target of WHO? Do will be able to achieve that target of ending TB by 2025 if the present trend continues? You can also answer. You can also analyze that. Okay, that this target is not going to achieve. Why? Because the rate of incidence, the rate of the patient getting diagnosis is very much high. So we have to take more focused approach. So what are the some suggestions that highlighted? We will discuss, but first of all we should learn that how TB impacts the elderly. First of all, when we talk about elderly, that means elderly will be having many other disease due to the age factor, okay, like respiratory issues maybe there, like the weakness in the body, okay. So whenever the disease of TB gets affected to the older people, the people or the family didn't recognize that disease. Why? Because they observe like this is the age old problem, it is not related to TB. They assume like that. But you have to understand that assumption does not gives you the diagnosis. If there is the conditions like TB, there is a need to have a diagnosis first. Okay, otherwise if there is non-diagnosis, the impact of TB will getting increase and increase. So you have to understand all these symptoms of TB are mistaken to other disease or old age sign. And even once diagnosed, the management of TB among the elderly is often complicated. Why complicated? Because the older age population have various comorbidities, like they may be facing the diabetes issue, they may be facing the respiratory issue, and even they are having other disease, and because of that the drugs or the medicines which are required for the treatment becomes higher in number, and there is also much side effect. Okay, so because of that it leads to irregular treatment adherence and poor outcomes. That is also the important point highlighted here. Okay, and also there are multiple challenges in assessing the healthcare services. We look at the primary healthcare center, there is not doctor having sitting there. Okay, and even if you talk about the district hospitals, the doctor and the patient ratio is very much complex, along with various infrastructure are lacking, like test diagnosis kit they are not available. All of that challenges is particularly. Okay, and when we compare to the challenges related to women, then women do have more challenges faces, like the transport facilities in rural and hilly areas, they are non accessible. Okay, and limited accessibility to reliable information, that how this is spread, and what is the treatment procedure, where to go, which medicine to have taken. All these informations are lacking, and because of that people ignores the treatment. And along with you have a social stigma attached with that. People even diagnosed by the disease may face social isolation. People even does not come closer to that person. So all of these affect the mental condition of the elderly as well. Okay, and social networks get shrink for the elderly. So all of that. And what are the further challenges, like infrastructure related challenges, like adequate seating in the bus or the various communication transportation system, along with lack of access to high quality nutritional food. And you can also understand that we have the majority of the population, they are either poor population or the middle class population. So for having better quality nutritious food, there is a need to have a better income as well. So if there is not better income, then the expenditure on nutrition, on the medicines gets limited. Okay, so these all challenges are augmented by loss of economic independence. Why? Because when a people attains the age of 60, the body or the physical uh, uh, their physical strength is not much high that they can work further, so they becomes dependent. Okay, and because of that they may not get proper nutrition, proper food, or the proper income, or the proper money from the family, and their health may also get deteriorated. Okay, and also ageism is real and has been recognized by World Health Organization as a cause of poor health and social isolation. And also anxiety of not being is useful. Sometimes the elderly people also thinks like this. Okay, so what should be done? We have to build age responsive care. Okay, so that these care system should respond to the elderly needs in a holistic manner. Okay, and how we can design and deliver TB care for the elderly in a elder friendly way? First of all, we must move away from disease specific vertical care programs to holistic care models, where we care the elderly in a more holistic needs, like addressing the needs of nutrition, addressing the needs of disease, addressing the needs of medicines, all of that in a single program. Okay, so we have to understand all that, so that the elderly may not have to go in different hospitals, in different healthcare centers. They should have a services at a single location. And also they must also build capacity among healthcare professionals at all levels for an improved clinical understanding of TB in the elderly, along with improving the case findings, that how much persons related to the higher age having the issue of TB. And for that we have a effective sputum collection. Sputum means balgam, okay, in Hindi. And we can have access to mobile diagnostic vans, so that uh, the infected patient can be diagnosed, and also active case finding at geriatric OPDs, residential homes as well. Okay, so what are the some suggestions, like technical and operational protocols need to be developed, like what is the way of collecting the data, what is the way of collecting the sample. There should be a proper protocol should be developed. Along with, to address the socio-economic needs, we must design and roll out well considered support protocols with inputs from elderly people having the TB. Okay, and we have example like elder focused community care model should be there, or doorstep delivery of medicines, along with age responsive peer support and counseling for the older people. Special help that should be there in the hospitals, in the primary healthcare center, so that they can address the needs of the elderly. Okay, so that they have a dignity. Okay, and also when we talk about further steps and conclusion, at a macro level we must ensure that there should be not gender biasness. Even in the treatment of tuberculosis we see some of the biasness, like women are not get treated in a proper way. Okay, they are even ignored, and that's why this becomes a very big issue of gender discrimination as well. So we have to identify and collect various data and analysis of the data, so that we can understand the TB trends. For example, we have understood that in the old age population the trend of infection of TB may be higher. Okay, because they are having the comorbidities along with lack of nutrition and many more things. So we need a stronger research agenda focused on TB in the elderly to better understand the state specific trends. And if we are able to understand the state specific trend, then definitely the policy, the government initiative can be approached in a better and in a rationalized way. Okay, and also we can have a uptake of TB preventive therapy. We should promote equity in diagnosis, treatment, and all of that. And you should understand that once diagnosed, the management of TB among the elderly is also complicated by multiple comorbidities. Okay, comorbidities, particularly the diabetes the elderly faces. So that is the end of the articles, and hope you understood in great detail. And now we have to answer the question of the prelims. The answer is option A. Okay, that is, it improves the competitiveness of the domestic export in the foreign markets. And why the statement 2 and 3 is incorrect? First of all, you have to understand, whenever there is a devaluation of currency, meaning our value of currency is decreasing with respect to the currency of other, specifically the currency which are focusing on. For example, when we compare dollar and the rupee, and if Indian government devalues the rupee, that means the value of Indian rupee with respect to dollar will decrease. And if you take an example, let's say $1 was earlier equal to 80 rupees, and now with the devaluation $1 is equal to 120 rupees, meaning the export may get improved. Why may get improved? Because the country which are trying to import from India will have a better edge. Why? Because even in $1 they are getting the item of 100 rupee. Earlier they were getting the item of 1880 rupees. Okay, that means what? That the export may get benefit, but the import from other countries to India will get affected in a negative way. So you have to understand. So that's why there will be a decrease in the foreign value of the domestic currency. This statement becomes wrong because here it is written increase. So if we cancel the statement 2, then we have only two options left. And remember, the question is talking about necessarily. Okay, so when we talk about the third statement, improves the trade balance, it may be there, it may not be there, because the devaluation of the currency may be like it has been devalued with respect to the dollar. Maybe with respect to the other currency, our currency value gets increased. There may be other possibility as well. Okay, so it may have impact. Okay, but necessarily the competitiveness of domestic export in the foreign markets will be improving. Okay, because more export from the Indian territory to the foreign countries may be there. Okay, so that is the point. So this is the end of the article. Hope you understood, and we will again meet up with important article discussion. Thank you, friend. Thank you very much. We will meet again. Thank you.